On today's episode of the Lone Wolf Chat, today is the Booktok episode. The Booktok, the hashtag that has pretty much brought in more readers and is one of the best marketing tools out there on the internet right now. If you don't know what Booktok is basically a hashtag that's been used basically on TikTok to promote writers. And right now, writers have gained a boon almost from this. There have been books that have been on backlog for years that are suddenly being picked up by new readers. And the best example would be the Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Nixon, um, which is not for children at all, and children really shouldn't be reading that, but I digress. The better example would be the Colleen Hoover books. There's another book called The Seven Lives of Evelyn Hugo, The Love Hypothesis. The hashtag Booktok has created a real great marketing boom. And not only is it great for TikTok, it's also used on Instagram, but there are some drawbacks to Booktok. And I'll get to that in a bit. But I've seen it like when if I walk past Books a Million at my local mall. I don't have a Barnes and Nobles near me anymore. The big store actually closed during the pandemic, which is really sad. But they have a hashtag Booktok, and you'll see all these books that were promoted on TikTok right there on the shelf. It'll be hashtag Booktok, and it'll be either a list of books on here or on the shelf, like more hashtag Booktok books. And it causes a lot of publishing companies to print more books, which is a good thing, I want to say, but then it can turn into a bad thing at the same time. One of the most prominent things I believe would be the bad thing is the more books bought, how much of a guarantee that those books are going to be read. Now, I know it's kind of controversial to say, but one of the things about books that people forget is book writing is a business. At the end of the day, you are here to make sales, but you also want people to enjoy what they're reading. And if people are buying, are they buying out a trend, or is it because they legitimately want to read it? Now, I have seen articles, like even on Oprah's website, where Booktok has introduced new readers. Again, not a bad thing, but is it they want to read the book or they want to be part of a hot trend? That's the question. Because I remember being a teenager. I'm sure everyone out there listening remembers being a teenager, and we had these things called trends, and people buy them and then they kind of fall off. I'll give the greatest example was back in the 90s was the not Togepi, why am I calling it Togepi? The Tamagotchi and the Digipets. Everyone had a Tamagotchi, everyone had a Digipet. And you probably seen it in Disney's Turning Red too. And oh boy, those things are annoying. I mean, as an adult now, they're annoying because they're needier than a child. But everyone loved them. I remember having one, and then I had a knockoff Digipet, and it basically got taken from me by the teacher because she got sick of me playing with it. And mom said I couldn't take it to school no more, and my Tamagotchi died. No, it was my digital pet. My Tamagotchi died because I ignored it after a while. There was this thing called Tamagotchi Angel, and there was a thing, and I completely forgot it was there, and it died and went to heaven. Dead serious. That actually happened to me. And what I'm getting at is that's the example of the trend I can use, is that we kind of forget, or we kind of leave it to the wayside. So I'm not 100% sure this platform is sustainable. I mean, it's great, and I feel great for my fellow writers and authors out there who are actually making money off of it, and they're actually seeing a boom in their career. But the question is, how long is this going to last? How long before the trend dies out and another trend takes place, whether it be the next 50 Shades of Grey or Twilight, or the next Harry Potter book, which will pretty much dominate the nation. We don't know at this time. But I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. I'm just trying to be taking a more realistic approach to this, because I'm in my 30s. Come October, I'll be in my mid-30s, and I've seen trends come and go, and people have a tendency to dedicate themselves and then fall off. Now, the one thing I will say is, the other downside of Booktok is, if your book's not that good, BookTube will let you know about it. People will literally sit there and do reviews and talk about the parts that did not people did not like. One example would be, I've seen this happen before. I personally enjoyed the book, but there are people out there who did not, and it was called The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I think that's the last name, Hazelwood. It was basically a Renlo story, and if you don't know what Renlo is, it's basically a Star Wars shipping, which was Kylo Ren and uh, Rey from Star Wars, so they call it Reylo. I did not know it was Reylo. I personally enjoyed the book, but I can understand why people don't like Reylo, because I did not like the last three Star Wars movies. I was okay with the first one. I fell asleep on the second one. The third one was what the F was that. The only thing I like to remember about the third one was holographic Luke Skywalker and ice foxes. Or was that the second book? Yeah, that was the second. I'm sorry, that was the second movie. The third one I didn't even watch. I just saw Nostalgia Critics review and went, oh, okay. Like, that kind of saved me $14. But I digress. People did not like the Reylo shipping, and that kind of brought a negative light to the book, because some people are highlighting that it was just Reylo fan fiction, which, at this point, people just need to chill about that shipping thing, because it's not the first time a fan fiction has turned into a bestseller. Look at 50 Shades of Grey. That's pretty much Twilight fan fiction. And you can research that yourselves. You can Google it yourselves. It is definitely Twilight fan fiction. But in my defense, I did not read it, but I did, hear about the movie, because at the time, this is way before Booktok. Everybody was, and this was when I was in college, by the way. Everybody was gushing over the Twilight series. You couldn't go anywhere without buying without hearing about the Twilight series. And I remember I was going to go buy the book. Then I think by then, he was then my boyfriend, now my husband, kind of talked me out of it. He's like, are you really going to sit there and read that? And yes, you could call that manipulative gaslighting, but I'm kind of glad I didn't read it, because now, thanks to TikTok, ironically, I can literally watch the movie and all this stuff, including the Renesmee and Jacob imprinting scene, which is cringy as F. Cringy AF. That's what I can call it, because I try not to curse on this podcast. Yeah, I'm kind of glad I didn't read it at that point. And of course, it's Stephenie Meyer. I heard Stephenie Meyer's Mormonism, and then there's other controversy. Now, this is the other side of TikTok we got to talk about. The controversies that come with it. The greatest was Stephenie Meyer. I did not know that Stephenie Meyer has a problem writing POC characters. I know Sarah J. Maas does, and they've talked about her ad nauseum about how bad she is at writing POC characters. So I'm not going to go into that again. But she basically wrote, and I didn't know, first of all, the illustration books for Twilight, I didn't know the Cullen household was basically on a plantation in Washington. So, of course, the first thing that comes to my mind, which is, a couple things come to my mind. I don't remember, and maybe I need to Google it myself, having slaves in the state of Washington. I do not 100% remember that. Because I remember, they might have, because Washington state itself was first the Great Frontier, and then I guess slaves came later. But the point is, the Cullens owned slaves. Then you have the feral vampires, which I believe are supposed to be the people of color who eat humans if they come onto their lands, which is very tone deaf. Considering today's climate, that is very tone deaf. Then the third thing is the two Native Americans. So the two Native Americans who are aware of I think they're either wolves or they're feral. They haven't really said. Okay, I just Googled it. That was way worse than what I was expecting. So there's this tribe that I can't say it, but I think it's called the Kulite. I'm not going to say the tribe's name, just not to be disrespectful. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. It's a tribe in Washington. They were used as the basis for Stephenie Meyer's book, and she decided with all her idiocy to take the tribe's stories about skinwalkers, turn them into werewolves, because that's where the origin of supposedly the origin of skinwalkers. I think that's highly disrespectful. Took it and put tattoos and other tribal history, mixed it with another tribe, and the film was actually filmed on their land. So yeah, I just, yikes. You can Google it yourself. I really don't want to get into it, because even my reading it took me 5 minutes to go through the book, and sit down and go through my thoughts, but that was disrespectful. So basically, she disrespected a tribe. So that's what I mean by the downside. Well, it's not so much a downside, it makes people aware of what you're doing. And that is disrespectful. And same with J.K. Rowling. We can go through. I don't even have to talk about J.K. Rowling. You could literally look up her TikTok, the J.K. Rowling slander, the J.K. Rowling TikToks, the J.K. Rowling Twitter. You can literally look up the slander yourself. So there's that, and then there's the fact that Sarah J. Maas does not use her people of color characters as she should. Most of the time, the POC characters are background or being used as canon fodder to enhance the white person's portrayal or perspective or their adventure. And the greatest one is, I've never really read them. Like most of Sarah J. Maas's book, the only books I really read are the Crescent City books, which is the first book, and then the newest one was House of Sky and Breath, which unfortunately at the end, I'm not going to spoil it, but it ties into ACOTAR, and I am not in the mood to read sexy fairy ACOTAR. Not Stephanie Meyer. Sarah J. Maas herself. I'm gonna leave that alone. That's her new adult writing. And to be fair, just not to take up 100% for Sarah J. Maas, but she published a book. I believe she was 16 at the time. She was really young when she wrote it. So, I mean, what they say, you can't give people a pass, but let me see. Okay, so I take a lot of stuff back. So Sarah J. Maas, not a lot of stuff, I mean this particular section. Sarah J. Maas was 16 years old when she began writing Throne of Glass. She had it on fictionpress.com, and then she published the book at 26 years old in 2012. Oh boy. So I tried to be, just to be honest, I did try to read Throne of Glass. I couldn't do it. My brain said, I give up. I've tried. Maybe I'll come back to it at a later point, but right now I can't do it. I've tried on multiple occasions to try to read, her other works. I don't know if I'm going to read ACOTAR, which is A Court of Thorn and Roses. I'm probably going to have to, considering the ending of House of Sky and Breath. I really don't want to, but I heard that you kind of have. Somebody are like, oh no, you probably don't need to, but maybe you should, so you know who the heck these people are. And I said, okay. Or Wikipedia, whatever. I digress. So going back to the Booktok topic, you can see where your career can be made or broken by the push of a button. The other thing they do not talk about is the marketing the backlash of how marketing works on Booktok. What they I saw an article where in the UK a lot of publishers are basically coming together to write legislation because they feel like Booktok has created a monopoly with Amazon. Basically, I think what the huge I'll link the article in the description below, but the whole point is they feel like Booktok, it's fine, but at the same time it's creating a lot of issues, like a lot of backlog books need to be reprinted, and the other thing is Amazon is pretty much getting the big publishing boon out of all the publishing platforms, and that caused controversy because you have over 6.2 billion pounds going to Amazon, and as we know, Amazon makes buku money. It makes buku money, and that's, well, it's America, that's part of capitalism. You're gonna make money. Now, here's my thing and my take on it. Amazon is one of multiple platforms. You have Amazon, Booktok, not Booktok, Apple Books, you have Barnes & Noble, you have, which is Kobo, you have Smashwords. Those are the big four that I know of when it comes to publishing / digital publishing. I know there's other ones like Penguin Random House and all that stuff, but they have to go through those four regardless. Most people get their books from Amazon. Now, what I've seen with Amazon's algorithm, especially when it comes to certain genres like erotica, there's a chance that another book publishers such as Barnes and Noble could probably sweep up those books, because I've noticed this weird algorithm with Amazon where I'm not just saying erotica, I'm saying other subjects too that are just kind of being pushed back on their algorithm. And I've noticed that some people may have to, I've heard stories where people say they have to join Kindle Unlimited to get their books marketed, which I think is completely unfair. That pretty much pigeonholes you to stay with Amazon and not expand to other publishers such as Barnes and Noble, so you can get a bigger audience. Because not everybody has Kindle. Some people actually probably prefer Kobo, and this is where Kobo can kind of jump in, or Apple, for example, could jump in, because one of the erotica writers that I was on a forum and I heard about this. Her name is Madison Faye, and she had this big problem. It was her and Tracy St. John were having problems with Amazon in their guidelines, which was pretty BS. When, I mean, it's not like someone was getting assaulted or anything like that. They just didn't like the genre of book or how they're writing the books or whatever. And Amazon has a tendency, and I've heard this from other author tubers before, Amazon's tendency to drag their feet when it comes to appeals and stuff. So they said, well, forget it, I'll just go to Apple. And that's exactly what they did, and their audience just moved to Apple. So as much as people rage that Amazon is the monopoly machine, especially with hashtag Booktok, we kind of have to look at the fact that their algorithm sometimes can really suck on a bad day or a good day. So you have to look at avenues, and it doesn't help that Amazon has this thing where they kind of pigeonhole you, that if you publish your first book there, you have to you can't go anywhere else. And I heard it's a pain to have them released from Amazon. So in conclusion of the Booktok episode, yes, Booktok is a boom. It can actually help you promote, but at the same time, it can change. It can also kind of damage your career with the push of a button, which in hindsight 2020, it brings you back to a time when internet, and I'm not talking AOL. Yes, I remember when AOL is, yes, I'm showing my age. I'm talking about the time where this was like back in 2000 and, let's see, I graduated high school in 2005. So we're talking like 2007, 2008, like between 2006 and 2010. I remember there was a campaign about be careful what you post on the internet, and the internet is forever. Now we know it's a conscious thing that the internet is forever. So back in the early days, this is like back when MySpace was a thing. Everybody posted what they wanted to post. On Facebook, they posted what they wanted to post, and it was insane. And unfortunately, stuff from like 10, 20 years ago is now propping up and destroying people's careers. So I haven't published a book yet. I'm on Act 2 of the second rewrite I'm doing, the second draft I'm doing, and oh boy, I am a boring person on the internet for the most part. I have given my views on things on the internet, but I've never gone hard on things, because when you go hard on stuff, it comes back to bite you. And thanks to hashtag Booktok, all these people may have tweeted or put stuff on Facebook or MySpace. I'm surprised if anybody's MySpace page is still around. It's becoming increasingly obvious that whatever you post is becoming forever. And Booktok is used to boost, like, oh yeah, this is the other thing I wanted to say before I close out. The other downside of Booktok is, if you have a rabid fan base that hates you, they will hate bomb the crap out of your book. I'm talking 1-star reviews. Now, one person I did see on TikTok, Traversia, her cover art, her blurb was, it was tone deaf. It was racially tone deaf. I'm gonna put it to you that way. But there are other people that may be associated with this person that does not deserve the hate. I'm not saying that, how do I put this without getting myself burned alive on the internet? The problem with this particular mob hate is people get sucked into something that they did not even do, and it damages their career for life. Or what they have to do is, and this also costs them money, they have to leave the platforms, stay silent for a while, and then come back after a year and a half and reinvent themselves. I've seen it a lot of times, and that's usually the best marketing method instead of fighting people. You know, people like to fight, but that's kind of like a drawback to the book talk community. People will mob hate the crap out of you if you say one thing out of turn, which is why I personally don't post everything I think about or do on the internet. Even on my TikTok page. As much as I love my TikTok page, I don't post everything there because people are nuts out there. I'm not saying you guys listening are nuts, but I'm saying I don't want to take the chance and have to reinvent myself because I said the quote unquote wrong thing. Because everyone, no matter how you feel, in America has the right to their own opinion. However, the court of public opinion says otherwise, and they will string you up by your ankles. So, in closing, Booktok, it is a booming platform. But there are drawbacks. It's good for marketing purposes, but there are layers to the platform. And in the future, if Booktok is hashtag Booktok around and I get published, and will I use it? Yes. But I'm also going to be consciously aware of what I'm posting and how I speak on the internet because people will rip you apart. And that's the end of my episode. I will chat with you guys again in the next episode. I got to get ready to go to work. Bye bye.